Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
Oh, baby, here we go. The snowball is in effect, and we have some big-time NBA news. Not that it's shocking news, because we all understood that this was going to get passed by the NBA Board of Governors, but the big thing is, it is approved, and it's official, and the NBA can now take the proper steps moving forward, so I am super excited. There was one thing, though, that was so interesting to me, something that stood out to me the most, and it was the fact that the league is trying to implement a home court advantage, and yes, I'm using air quotes while saying home court advantage, because we all understand they are in the same exact building, stuck in Orlando, and it's not as if they can be in their home arenas with 25,000 screaming fans. So the way the NBA looks at home court advantage and the higher seeds, they value it so much. And that makes a lot of sense because statistics will show you if you do have home court advantage, if you are a higher seed, you have a better chance to win the NBA title. So they are throwing out different scenarios and different rule changes to try and give specific teams an edge, to give them the upper hand against their opponents. Some of them flat out suck. There's a couple interesting ones, and I will absolutely get into those on top of the breakdown of what is going to happen with the league moving forward. But before we do all that, let's hear a word from my sponsor. This episode of Sports Talk with Broads is sponsored by Orbit Energy and Power. They set the standard for clean energy. Whether you are looking to add solar to your home or your company, Orbit works directly with you to ensure they are getting the best deal. Their team has over 20 years of experience, including working on Lincoln Financial Field. That's not all. Orbit can also provide water purification systems, backup energy services, battery storage, and more. Visit them online at orbitenergy.us or give them a call at 800-836-3987. Their information is in the description. So let's just give a little breakdown on what's going to be happening moving forward. 22 teams. There will be some round-robin play for that 8th seed, which is essentially a fight for who is going to lose in the first round. There's this speculation and a little bit of excitement of, maybe the Portland Trail Blazers can make some noise, or maybe this team can sneak in and beat the Lakers. I just don't see that happening. That sounds great from afar. And look, who knows, right? The Lakers could come out totally flat, unprepared, and loose, because we don't know how teams are going to be able to enter this type of scenario. But I don't see that happening. It's just a far, far stretch, in my opinion. The round-robin play, which I don't hate at all, because you want to give these teams at the bottom an opportunity to get into that 8th seed. This really screws the 8th seed teams to an extent that they would have to do this. But look, I don't care, because those 8th seed teams, they don't win the NBA title. It's not like the NHL where 8th seeds actually win their respected league, right? The NBA, the 8th seed, they just get demolished. Okay, the Sixers won it one year. That's great. Guess what? Derrick Rose, the superstar of the league that year, ended up getting injured. That was actually during that whole entire fun Derrick Rose stretch, which was definitely fantastic to watch. But yeah, the Sixers won that round. Why? Well, because of a huge major injury. 8th seeds don't win. So I don't care about the round-robin play or whatever. Go ahead. Have fun with it. The NBA will extend 16 days with 5 to 6 games per day. So there will be 3 courts, and you are getting action. You are getting hoops. And I just think about, we've all seen local gyms where maybe there's 3 courts or 4 courts, and there's plenty of games going on at the same time, right? So many whistles going on. Whoop! That's my horrible impression of some ref blowing the whistle. Whoop! But could you imagine if there's a couple games going on and someone picks up their dribble, Ben Simmons picks up his dribble because he thinks it was his ref blowing the whistle. Wrong game, and then you continue to play? Come on. Now, I don't know how it's actually going to work in terms of where these courts are in Orlando, in Walt Disney World. I would assume they are separated just because of the scenario that I just laid out, right? Could you imagine all these whistles blowing, people taking charges, people screaming while you're trying to play a game? Or they go, hey, listen, that's reality here. That's what we have to play with, and you're used to playing with 20,000 screaming fans. Why can't you play with other games going on? Now, really, I doubt that is the way that it is going. That would just be a little ridiculous, in my opinion, and I can't imagine that being the way that it's laid out physically, right? But hey, it's a crazy time. It's a crazy world, and COVID-19 shut everything down. So from that standpoint, I don't know if I would be shocked if that was how it actually was, but I don't think that is how it's going to be. There will be 4 hours in between each game on the individual courts to accommodate for overtimes. In the 8 regular season game format, so there's 8 games, 8 regular season games once the NBA returns. Each team is expected to play 1 back-to-back. The NBA Finals format is expected to include every other night games. So once it gets to the NBA Finals and you're flying from East Coast to West Coast and you got 2 days in between each tilt and you wonder, come on, why are we doing this? I need my basketball. Well, since they don't travel, there you have it. You're just going to play every other night, which makes a ton of sense. Here's a little bit of a layout. July 9th to the 11th, training camp will kind of kick off. So the NBA teams will start getting back together, getting back in their facilities and working around and starting their respected training camps. The 19-20 season will start July 31st, and the last possible date for the NBA Finals Game 7 is October 12th. The ironic thing about that's a Monday night where there is a Monday Night Football game. You have Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints versus the Chargers. This is going to get interesting. This is going to get crazy. The TV network side of things will be epic. I mean, how are they going to figure this stuff out? NFL, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, the Masters, right? Golf is coming back. You have UFC events. You got baseball if they ever find a way to come together and reach an agreement. You have horse racing. You name it. I believe tennis will be thrown in the mix as well at some point. I think they push back some of their majors for this time range. I mean, there's just going to be so much going on. It's going to be hectic. What if there were 2 big events that normally one network would carry and the same broadcast team would normally do it? But since there will be head-to-head battles with each other, then you're literally going to have to maybe use your B team for a certain event. And then another event might get their C team, which their A broadcasting team would normally have. I don't know if it's going to be so simple. And then everyone talks about the sponsorship money, right? What if you're a business that normally sponsors baseball, but now the NBA is there during the same time? Why wouldn't you go with the NBA? Now baseball loses a sponsorship. Or what if you're someone who normally does both basketball and baseball? So you normally do both. But because of losing so much money financially, you have to pick one. So they pick baseball because maybe they can't afford the NBA. Now the NBA might lose a little. How do you do? It's going to get sloppy, no doubt about it. But moral of the story is July 31st is that target date to get everything going back to normal. The draft lottery, August 25th. The NBA draft itself, October 15th, which is on Thursday night, which means there's a Thursday night football game. And who's playing in that game? Pat Mahomes, the Kansas City Chiefs. Will people even be tuning into the NBA draft? Only if you got the first, second, third pick, I would assume, right, over a football game? See, with the NBA Finals, if Game 7 of the NBA Finals fell on a Monday night, I think the NBA Finals will do just fine. And I actually put up a Twitter poll about that, and it was overwhelming Game 7 NBA Finals without even knowing what team it is. It was 87% NBA Finals, but there was 13% of people that would watch football over Game 7. And not playoff football, it would be a regular season Monday night football game. I wouldn't do that. Now, when it comes to the NBA draft, yeah, it's a no-brainer. I'm probably watching Pat Mahomes. Now, I know what you're going to say. Oh, I would just have 2 TVs set up, or I'd be watching on my tablet or watching on my laptop. I get that, right? We all have 2 devices. We can all make sure we see both at the same time. But I'm just saying, if you're strapped to your couch. You are buckled on your couch. You can't move your hands. The remote is all the way over there, and you're tied down. Your feet can't move. What are you going to say? What are you going to say? You're going to pick one event to watch. Which one is it? Well, this NBA draft one, it's a no-brainer. October 18th, free agency will start, and here's the kicker. It looks like that they want to start up the following season, December 1st, with a November 10th training camp. That is a quick turnaround, super quick. And the union's going to get involved. There'll probably be some back and forth, but I love the philosophy of the NBA. Starting in December, going into August. What's the reason to compete with the NFL in the fall? They do it every year. October, November, December. Every NBA fan says the same thing. The NBA season does not start until Christmas. Now, you can argue that's because the beginning of the season doesn't matter much, or you can say it doesn't matter much because football's still on. Does the NBA season not really count early on because there's so many games, or is it because of what it is competing against? And I think it's because of what it's competing up against. You start this bad boy off in December, yeah, sure, there'll still be NFL going on, but during less amount of games. And I love the fact that it will rock and roll through the July, through the August, and you won't have those dog days of just baseball. And I love baseball. And I can break down all 162 games and watch every pitch. I mean, I am a legit psychopath when it comes to that. But to think that when you're ready for football, when you have that football itch, July, August, you're so excited for camps, you're so pumped up for voluntary OTAs and whatever crappy little camp they have before that, where you just want to see people on the field no matter if it's meaningful or not, that summer itch. Well, now you'll have basketball, and it will lead into playoff basketball. That will take your time away of that itch. Now, we'll still have it. We will still be super excited for football, but you're brainwashed. You're sidetracked. You're moving on to something else, and before you know it, whoa, it's preseason game 1? That would be fantastic. And I'm sure the NHL would love it too, because if they stick in the same situation that they normally do, which I don't know how that would work, honestly. I don't know what the NHL would do for their following season. I was going to say, if they kept it where their Stanley Cup was in May, early June, they would be the only finals going on, and maybe that would actually benefit hockey because, let's be real, the NBA kicks the NHL's ass, so they wouldn't have anyone to compete with when it comes to playoffs. There will be other sports going on, but it would be the Stanley Cup playoffs and the only playoff system going on. That would be very interesting. All right, let's dive into what makes the most pop in my brain. The home court advantage conversation. Here's a couple of different concepts that were thrown around. The higher seed gets the ball at the beginning of the second, third, and fourth quarters. So keep in mind, because the NBA knows that home court advantage is so important, they are trying to find ways to give the higher seed a chance and a higher chance to win, essentially. They're giving them an edge over their opponent. So the team with the home court advantage would get the ball at the beginning of the second, third, and fourth. The higher seed being allowed to choose one player who would be allowed 7 personal fouls instead of 6. Higher seeds get an extra coach's challenge. Higher seeds getting preferred hotel selection in Disney. Higher seeds being allowed to transport their actual hardwood courts to Disney to recreate the home feel. There's 2 on that list that I can support. The hotel thing, absolutely. I think that's great. I think that's hilarious. And you can find a way to almost implement that into the broadcast. Add that to the overall feel as if it's part of the journey. How much different could these hotels be? I'm sure maybe one hotel makes better breakfast than the other. It's not like one hotel is going to have crickets and bugs in their bacon and one doesn't. or one gets obnoxious room service and the other one has to clean up themselves, right? I mean, it's not to that level of Motel 6 in the best hotel in the world. So from that standpoint, okay, listen, all right, fine, by all means. I like the home court thing. And originally I thought, well, games 1 and 2 would have, let's just say the Sixers play the Celtics. Let's just say games 1 and 2, the Celtics would have the home floor. Games 3 and 4, the Sixers would have the home floor. And then it would flip-flop 5, 6, and 7. The more and more I think about it, it would make the most sense to allow that home team, the home court team, if you will, to have their floor on it the entire time. I think that makes a lot of sense because here's the thing with those two that I like. It doesn't change the game. Adding an extra foul, that's silly. You are mocking the game, in my opinion. Getting an extra coach's challenge, that's mocking the game. That's too much of an advantage. I mean, I think that's silly. Joel Embiid gets an extra foul. So you're telling me he picks up his third foul in the second quarter and, well, I mean, he gets 7, so you get to play him a little bit longer. I mean, you are literally changing the game of basketball at that point, and I really do not like it. I'm not devaluing how much better it is to have home court advantage because, let's be real, you're taking away the fans. You could argue that is changing the game of basketball because it is. Because the floor, the fans are right on the floor. They're right on top of you. They're obnoxiously loud. They're so passionate. They're insane. They got the towels going. Well, that's more football, but they got the same colored t-shirts on. That's overpowering, right? You're changing the game by taking away the fans. I get that. But in these circumstances, yeah, you're going to have to not have fans. But you can't be adding things like that. You get an extra challenge. You get an extra foul. Giving the team the ball at certain spots just because? No. Now, what I would like for them to try and figure out, why can't you add crowd noise? Why can't you find ways to pop up screens, right? So if I'm an away team, if I'm the Sixers and I'm against the Celtics in game 1, right? So I'm the road team and Joel Embiid's at the free throw line. Why can't they find a way to put up a screen and it would be Celtics fans banging on those balloons or going crazy and there's crowd noise going, sort of like in NBA 2K when you hit LT, RT and the whole thing starts shaking and your controller vibrates? It's sort of like that. Now, obviously, they're not going to start shaking the court, but you get the fans, the screen goes up, he does his free throws, and then the screen comes down. And then the Jumbotron, or how about the PA announcers? You get to use your home PA announcers. Things like that, I'm all for it. Even though it's not actually being at home, it just gives you that full-on feel that you are at home, and I think that's fine, right? If you're a team that enjoys music being played when you have the ball, okay, you get music played. Or if you don't want the music played so you can set up your play and the other team has music playing when they're dribbling up the court, then so be it. If that's the type of stuff that you can choose when you are a home court team. That's so weird to say, right? Because no one's really a home court team, but a higher seed. I like the addition of maybe implementing some sort of crowd noise. And I'm sure the NBA can do it. Here's the thing, though. I really do respect Adam Silver. I think he is an intelligent man. I think he thinks everything through. Nothing he says is just nonsense, throwing it at the wall, seeing if it sticks like baseball does. This is legitimate processing information. So if Adam Silver and the NBA, they come up with these ideas, I think there's a reason for it. So I don't like it. I hope they don't move forward with it. But, yeah, to be clear, by the way, these are not actual things involved. This is more ideas when it comes to this home court advantage thing. But with Adam Silver, I respect everything that he does for the most part. And I think there's something to be said about him coming up with this idea and showing the importance of being a higher seed. And making sure that these teams that got there, that worked their asses off all regular season, get somewhat rewarded for doing that. And we'll see how they move forward with it. It's exciting, though. No doubt about it. It's exciting. So, top 16 teams in the East and West will be joined by teams currently within 6 games of the 8th place in the two conferences. So, New Orleans, Portland, San Antonio, Sacramento, Phoenix are the Western teams, and Washington is the only East squad. There's this debate that the only reason this is happening, this tournament play-in style, is for Zion Williamson. The league wants Zion Williamson in the playoffs that bad. And I'm not knocking that mindset. I think the NBA really wants him in there. He sells, okay? I mean, he is someone who people want to watch. And to see Zion in the playoffs in the first round against, who would that be? The Lakers, LeBron James? Yeah, that would be powerful. It's a 1-8, but people would tune in for that 1-8. It wouldn't be the same as Lakers-Memphis, where you kind of laugh at it. Ja Morant's a good player, and he's Rookie of the Year, in my opinion, and he's super talented, and I can't wait to watch what he's going to become. But it's not a Zion Williamson. So there's this narrative out there that the NBA only did this just so they can find a way to get him in. And I am not going to put it past the league to have that in their mind, but I do not think that's the only reason. I think they wanted to give a fair shake to some of these teams that, if the season would continue regularly, as if none of this would ever happen, they would still have enough time to make up for that loss. And you can go out there and say, listen, this is a weird time. COVID-19 happened. If they didn't get in, then shame on them. They weren't able to get the job done throughout the regular season. They had just as much of a chance as anyone else throughout that regular season. So tough. And it's just flat out tough. And you know what? That is fine. That is fine. That's a fine mindset. I'm not against that mindset, but I'm also not against giving them an opportunity. Because like I said, when it comes to this 8th seed, I don't see any of them really making noise. So what does this really change when it comes to the NBA Finals itself? Nothing. It's just an added bonus throughout the process of getting basketball back. And it's a little intriguing. You know, we'll see how it all plays out once things start moving along. And I kind of like the way that this is set up. So if you look at this play-in tournament, the play-in tournament will include the number 8 and number 9 teams in conference, if the 9th seed finishes the regular season within 4 games of the 8th seed. So they need to finish within 4 games of the 8th seed. In that case, the number 9 seed would need to beat the number 8 seed twice to earn the playoff spot, while the 8th seed would only need to win 1. So the 9th seeded team, if they finish within 4 games of the 8th seed, would need to win 2 games, while the 8th seed team only needs to win 1. So I did claim that you are kind of screwing the 8th seed, which to an extent you are, because if you tell me right now, if you make the 8th seed, you're in, okay, well now you are forcing them to have a chance to lose the spot. So you are technically screwing the 8th seed, but it's not so simple. The 9th seed will have to work for it. These teams will have to grind and really earn it. So it's not a cakewalk. But I'm so interested to see how it all plays out from here. And there's obviously going to be more and more discussions as the league continues here. Let's just say everything is rolling in the right direction in the sports world, and that is something that puts a smile on my face. So let's not forget why this all happened, because of coronavirus. So the NBA is planning to have uniform daily testing for the coronavirus within the Disney campus environment, sources told ESPN. If a player tests positive for the virus, the league's intent would to be remove that player from the team, to quarantine and receive treatment individually, and continue to test other team members as they play on. The only thing that concerns me a bit, and as we see here, maybe it's not as crazy as we once thought it was. We will see people test positive. The thing that is concerning to me is, what if we're in the NBA playoffs, it's the second round, it's the conference finals, and 3 people on the other team get coronavirus? And those 3 people happen to be one superstar, one important bench piece, and then an average player. But you're now losing those players in the Eastern Conference Finals and the Western Conference Finals. The answer is, well, what do? The answer is tough. You just roll with it. It's 2020. It's the year of the coronavirus. There's nothing you can really do. But if a scenario like that happens, imagine if it happens in the NBA Finals. And then a team wins the Finals. And then everyone talks about, yeah, you won it, but remember when 6 players on the other team had coronavirus and you were essentially playing an NBA G League team, or you were playing a squad who had to put their 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th players in their starting rotation, that would be an absolute nightmare. Now, if that type of Game 7 went up against a Monday Night Football game, I don't know how those ratings would do. But could you imagine if that team ended up winning? That team that lost their players due to the coronavirus would go in and win the basketball game in overtime on like a sick buzzer beater where some no-name dude who barely ever plays ended up dropping 37 points, 12 rebounds, and 8 assists. I need to go to bed, don't I? What did I just say? Oh, my Lord. I'm done. That's where we're going to end this. Remember, this episode of Sports Talk with Bros is sponsored by Orbit Energy and Power. They set the standard for clean energy. Whether you are looking to add solar to your home or company, Orbit works directly with you to ensure you are getting the best deal. That's not all. Orbit also provides water purification systems, backup energy services, battery storage, and more. So visit them online, orbitenergy.us, or call them at 800-836-3987. Thank you guys so much for listening. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below. If you are listening to this on YouTube, the comment section is there. If you are listening to this on Apple Podcast or any podcasting platform, use the review system as a comment section. I really do enjoy reading them. Thank you so much, and I will see you all next time.